Every man has one, a boat that got away. Maybe you sold it when times got tight and swore you'd buy it back someday, and someday never came. Maybe you scrolled right past it, chose something newer and shinier, and spent the next 20 years wishing you hadn't. Today, I'm going to show you 5 classic boats that people are ignoring right now, this very minute. Boats you can still buy for a fraction of what they're truly worth. And by the end, I promise you'll understand why passing one of these up is a mistake a man regrets for the rest of his life. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. This is the full story, not the corporate version, the human one. Because here's the truth almost nobody wants to admit. They don't build boats the way they used to. The 5 boats I'm about to show you were made in a time when a hull was overbuilt by hand, by people who actually cared, in an era that is gone and is never coming back. These boats have already outlived the men who built them, and they'll outlive the shiny plastic boats sitting next to them at the dealer too. The world forgot about them, and that, my friend, is exactly why you can still afford one. Their loss can be your gift, if you're smart enough not to make the same mistake everyone else is making. Let's start the countdown. Number 5. The Aquasport 22. Back in 1967, a little company started building center console boats out of fiberglass, and almost by accident, they built one of the most seaworthy small boats America has ever seen. The Aquasport wasn't fancy. It was never meant to be. It was the working man's fishing boat, the one a regular guy with a regular paycheck could actually afford, back when the fancy boats cost more than a house. And here's the thing that breaks my heart a little. Today, people scroll right past the old Aquasport. It looks plain. It looks dated, sitting there next to some gleaming new console with cup holders and speakers and a price tag that'll follow you around for a decade. So they pass it up. And what they don't know, what they'll find out too late, is that the Aquasport would have quietly outlived 3 of those shiny new boats. It's a hull that just refuses to quit, and you can still find a good one for the price of a used car. The people who know. Everyone else just keeps scrolling. And there's something almost noble about a boat like that. It never pretended to be something it wasn't. It didn't have the fancy name or the show-off lines. It was just honest and tough and built to give a working family a way out onto the water when a fancy boat was out of the question. That Aquasport took a lot of dads and a lot of kids out to catch their first fish. It made a lot of memories for people who couldn't have afforded to make them any other way. And it's still ready to do it again for whoever's smart enough to see past the plain old gel coat to the bulletproof hull underneath. They don't give medals for boats like that, but maybe they should. Number 4. The Mako 23. Ask any old salt on the dock about the Mako 23 and watch his eyes change, because this is a boat that earned its name the hard way, out where the water turns mean. The Mako 23 is on every serious list of the boats that shaped American fishing, and for one simple reason. It takes a beating and comes back for more. It'll punch through a chop that sends newer, softer boats running for the inlet, and it'll do it all day long, and then it'll do it again tomorrow. It looks plain by today's standards. No frills, no nonsense. And so, once again, the buyers scroll on by, chasing something prettier. Meanwhile, that plain old Mako is sitting on a trailer somewhere with a price tag around $10,000 or $12,000, while some fellow down the street is financing $90,000 for a boat that will never, ever handle the ocean the way that old Mako does without even trying. One of these men understands boats. The other one is about to learn an expensive lesson. There's an old saying that you don't buy a boat like the Mako, you inherit the right to run one. Because these hulls have been proving themselves for so long in such rough water that owning one puts you in a kind of quiet brotherhood. The guys who run old Makos nod at each other at the ramp. They know something the rest don't. They know that when the wind kicks up and the bay turns ugly and everyone else is white-knuckling it back to the dock, that plain old boat under their feet is going to bring them home, the way it's brought men home for 40 years. Number 3. The Boston Whaler Montauk 17. Now this one isn't just a boat. For a whole generation of Americans, this is a childhood. The original Boston Whaler Montauk is one of the most beloved small boats ever built, period. It came out of that famous unsinkable design, the one they proved by sawing a whaler clean in half and watching both pieces just float there, calm as you please. And for millions of families, the little Montauk was the first boat, the one Dad ran you out to the sandbar in, the one you learned to fish from, learned to run, learned to love the water from. But here's what happens. Everybody wants bigger, taller, more. So the humble 17-foot Montauk gets passed over again and again, treated like it's too small to matter. And then one day a man wakes up in his 50s and he realizes the little boat from his childhood is gone, sold off years ago when nobody thought it was worth much, and he would give almost anything to have it back. I've seen grown men spend years hunting down the exact Montauk they grew up with, because some things you don't know you love until they're gone. Don't let that boat be the one that got away. And think about why that little boat means so much. It wasn't about the boat at all, was it? It was about who was standing next to you in it. It was your father, one hand on the wheel and one hand on your shoulder, teaching you how to read the water. It was the smell of the salt and the sound of that little motor and the feeling that your dad knew everything and could keep you safe from anything. That Montauk was where you learned who your father was. And when a man goes looking for that boat again 40 years later, he's not really looking for a 17-foot fishing boat. He's looking for his dad. He's looking for a morning that's never coming back. And if you've still got that boat, or one like it, in your family right now, and you're thinking about letting it go because it's small, and it's old, and it's not worth much, do not do it. You will never get that back. Trust me. Number 2. The Seacraft 23. This is the connoisseur's secret, the boat the experts quietly buy, while everyone else walks right past it, having never even heard the name. The Seacraft came from a brilliant, unusual hull, designed back in the early 1960s, and here's how good it is. On some lists of the greatest classic fishing boats ever made, the hardcore guys, the ones who have spent their whole lives on the water, rank the Seacraft above the Bertram, above the King. That's how much they respect it. It gives you one of the driest, smoothest rides of any small boat of its era. But because the average buyer has never heard of it, the Seacraft gets ignored while the insiders hunt them down, snap them up, and restore them into something worth 3 times what they paid. This is the boat that separates the people who really know from the people who just think they do. Miss it, and you'll find out too late exactly what the old salts already knew and were quietly keeping to themselves. And you have to respect a boat that earns that kind of loyalty without ever needing to show off. The Seacraft never had the marketing or the famous name. It just had the one thing that actually matters out on the water, a hull that does exactly what it's supposed to do, better than almost anything else its size, and does it quietly. The men who own them tend to keep them for life and pass them down, and speak about them the way you'd speak about an old friend who never let you down. That's the highest praise a boat can get, and it's sitting right there, ignored, waiting for someone with the eyes to see it. And number 1, the Bertram 31. They call it the king of all classic fishing boats, and it earned that crown. Born back in 1961 from a legendary deep V hull that came straight out of ocean racing, the Bertram 31 didn't just succeed, it changed motorboating forever. They built over 1,000 of them, And these boats are so tough, so seaworthy, so perfectly made that they are still running today all over the world, 60 years later. There's a famous fishing lodge down in Panama where the entire fleet, to this day, is nothing but old Bertram 31s, still going out every single morning to do battle with the ocean. Now here is the part that will surprise you. Everyone assumes a legend like this must cost a fortune, and a beautifully restored one can run well over $100,000. But a tired, honest, standard one, a boat that just needs some love, you can still find those for $20,000, maybe $30,000. The greatest sport fishing boat ever made, the King itself, hiding in plain sight at the price of a used pickup truck. And that right there is the boat men dream about. The one a hardworking fellow tells himself he'll finally buy someday, when the time is right, when the money's a little better. And you already know how that story usually ends. Someday never comes. He keeps buying newer boats, lesser boats, and the Bertram stays a dream until he's too old and the moments passed, and all that's left is the wishing. And maybe that's the saddest thing of all, not that these boats get forgotten, but that a man can spend his whole life waiting for permission to have the thing he really wants, waiting until the money's perfect, until the timing's right, until the kids are grown and the house is paid off, and there's finally nothing left to worry about. And by the time all of that lines up, if it ever does, he spent 30 years watching that dream boat sit there, getting cheaper, more within reach every year, and he still never pulled the trigger. The boat was never the hard part. The boat was always affordable. It was giving himself permission that he could never quite manage. Don't be that man. Life is shorter than you think, and the water is waiting. So let me tell you the truth, plain and simple, because somebody has to. Every one of these 5 boats is out there right now, tonight, sitting in a boatyard, or on a trailer, or tied to a dock, waiting for somebody who understands what they are. The world forgot about them, and I know that's a sad thing, but it's also the gift, don't you see? Because the forgetting is the only reason a regular man like you or me can still afford a legend. These boats were built by people who cared, in a time that's gone, and they were made to last far longer than the men who first owned them. The only question left is whether the next owner is going to be somebody who scrolls right on past, chasing something shiny that'll be falling apart in 10 years, or whether it's going to be you. Don't be the man who spends the rest of his life talking about the one that got away. Go be the man who finally brought her home. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe so the next one finds you when it's ready.